Good evening, everybody. I am Niraj Jaipuria, founder, director, BI Retail. And last session, I guess we're all tired. We'll try to make it as exciting. Thank you for being here, all of you, and having the patience of waiting. What we'll do is, we have about an hour, and we've got a very distinguished panel over here. So I'm going to be talking the least over here. I'm just going to set the stage for what we're going to discuss in today's panel. The theme is digitization, and digitization is vast, it's broad, it covers so many things. Each of the panelists here have in their journeys, either as tech solution providers or as retailers themselves, have done massive different initiatives in the space of digitization. And what we want to do today is hear from each one of them how what they've done firstly, and how has that impacted the business that they are actually responsible for. So what we'll do is, starting from Anand, I think we'll just go around one by one first and let each one of you talk about your initiatives, right? It'll be good if each one introduces themselves before they start so that the audience knows. Anand, why don't you start?
Thank you. Sorry. Hey everyone, so I am Anand and I head tech and product for Reliance's fashion and beauty verticals. So those of you who were here before, for them it's a little bit of a repeat, but so that encompasses AJIO, Tirabeauty, Reliance Trends and all the offline brands, supply chain, Swadesh, and like I mentioned in the previous session as well, that we launched Shein as of yesterday evening, so that is there as well. So that's a brief introduction. Did you want me to address something, or?
No, I think, thanks for that, but sorry. What will happen is by the time we finish the introductions, they'll forget who Anand was. Okay. So I thought, it might just, yeah. So Anand, if you can start off by, talking about your first initiative, and we'll go around and then probably we'll have a second round.
So there's a bunch of initiatives that, we've done, and I've been strictly told not to talk about too many initiatives given the paucity of time. So I'll just pick my favorites. So essentially, the one that, has been the biggest difference maker for us as an organization, and not just for the business that I work on, has been what we call as the project impetus internally. And in this, the mandate from the chairman was that, we need to move faster in fashion. And to make that happen, so essentially Reliance does the typical 6-month cycle, right? Spring, summer, autumn, winter, and so on and so forth. And the mandate was to go the Shein way, right? Which is the 21-day cycle for, just to go into a little bit of a detail where if the fabric is available, then it should be a 15-day cycle. If the fabric is not available, it should be a 21-day cycle. But so overall, that's what.
Sorry, Anand, I'll just interrupt this. It's a very interesting thought. And I've worked with a lot of retailers, and they always wonder, even if the fabric, so if the fabric is available, I think 15-day cycle is practical and it's possible. But if the fabric is not, does 21-day cycles really work?
Yeah, so there's a lot of nuance to that now, because when we say fabric is not available, there are two parts to it, right? So what we call as the grade fabric, which is the base fabric, right? 70 or 80 different types per brand is what we use. And then there's the finished fabric. So I'm talking about the finished fabric not being available, but the grade being available. So if the grade is not available, then it's plus 21, 30 days, right? So, but if the grade is available, then using the right forecasting algorithms, we are able to kind of judge the capacity of various vendors, allocate it to the right vendor, do a buy to ship to model, and so on and so forth, and add another 6 days for the finished fabric to kind of make that happen.
So, sorry, please go on.
Yeah, sure, yeah. So, but no, glad you asked, because that's one part of what we did as a part of this project. The other part was, how do we make this more relevant, right? So I think one of the presenters, earlier in the day was talking about, inventory, long tail, and not being able to sell, and so on and so forth. So the mandate was to reduce the depth of the inventory. Online inventory should be only 100. That's the Shein standard. And offline will be slightly bigger because we've got 3,000 plus stores and so on and so forth. But how do you make it more relevant? So that's where we developed an in-house technology called Next Wave. Essentially what it does is it kind of has various sources of information, right? So social media, Google Trends, scraping data across various platforms, our own sales search data, bunch of different sources. In fact, various magazines as well, where fashion designers forecast what's going to be in fashion and not. Identify the macro trends, layer them with micro trends, and so on and so forth, and try to identify what needs to go into each store. That, of course, is layered with historical data, right? So we've kind of, again, due to the paucity of time, I'll not go into every detail. Now, in all of this, there's a lot of generative AI involved, because what we do is kind of combine all of these. All of these sources talk in different languages, right? So normalizing that taxonomy is a nightmare, right? So, so we kind of managed to do that. Using that normalized data and predictions, we create the right mood boards using generative AI. Using those mood boards, we create the design inspirations. So now the job of the designer, instead of doing all of this over a period of 6 months or 3 to 4 months, is to now select the designs which she believes, now need to go. And what I was talking about in my previous thing also, we don't want to eliminate the human in the loop, right? So that's not the goal. It's about to empower that human, right? So if it was able to do 10 things, how can she do, 20 things or 100 things now? So this is something that has been very meaningful, citing a couple of numbers so that you can assess the impact. So we've been able to reduce our working capital by around 250 crores by, doing this. And slightly confidential, but that's okay. I think we intend this to kind of mobilize around close to $20 billion in revenue over the next 2 years. So, and we are on track for that. So that's where we are.
Those are big numbers, but Reliance doesn't do anything small. So, no, this is great. I don't know how many actually fashion brands are here, but like I said, we work with a lot of them, and people struggle to break from the 6-month cycles. This is a great use case. Thank you so much. So, we'll move on, and given time, we'll come back to you, Anand. Rohit, you want to take the mic and introduce yourself and talk us through?
Yeah, hi, Rohit Khetan. I'm from Ginesys. We are a leading retail tech company. We provide various tech products for the retail value chain, both brands as well as retailers. And we have been powering more than 1,100 brands, 1,200 brands across the country. So I think one of the unique challenges we started coming across over the last few years is that a lot of brands are dealing with this kind of digital plethora of tools which are digitalizing various aspects of their supply chain. Some of it are built by us, like the ERP, POS, OMS, and so on. Some of them are third-party tools, but then the consumer and their transactions and their inventory and everything needs to be unified, so that they can go to market fast, so that they can build newer solutions fast, and how to do that. So we realized one thing, that it's one thing to kind of adopt these kind of tools, but a whole different ball game to kind of integrate them and go to market fast. So what we have done is we have accelerated that with a kind of a middleware platform called Ease My Retail, and our own suite as well called Ginesys One, where all of this is pre-integrated within our products, as well as for various third-party products, so that you can just plug in, plug out, take in a new product, maybe add a PLM tool, maybe add a CRM tool today and change it tomorrow and stuff like that. It becomes very easy to add and remove stuff, which is, I think, a huge pain right now if you want to bring on board any new application. And related to that, like one case study maybe I could share is that for a very large value retailer, they were mostly into traditional retail, offline retail, and then they decided to go online. Not only online, they wanted to launch omni-channel as well. But the only challenge was the inventory was huge. It was not small, and the number of stores was also large. So syncing all of that in real time, all the number of offline transactions, inventory, everything in real time, and ensuring that they kind of started processing around 1.5 lakh orders per month from around 200 live Omni stores, I think is a big win for them, led to a huge uptake in their online business. And I think that kind of proved that they were able to do it so fast in 2 months to make around 200 large format stores live on Omni. I think was a big success.
Okay, yeah, that's great. So I just had a question. When you said they had a large number of SKUs in inventory, and that was a challenge, you meant it was a challenge because of the response times of the tech?
Time,
Okay,
and, you know,
that makes
digitizing
sense.
all of that, uploading.
Yeah, absolutely.
Inventory, accurate.
Absolutely. So Rohit, I mean, you and I are the non-retailers amongst a few of us, right? And our job, yeah, I know, amongst a few of us. Our job is always sounds so boring, but in spite of that, I think it's a great use case you've presented, because I think what people forget is putting everything together itself is a challenge, right? So that's a great one. Thanks so much. Okay, why don't we go on? Let's start with Rupam. Why don't you take the mic and introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks everyone, and thanks for. Okay, so my name is Rupam, and I am the co-founder and MD of Ways Ahead Global, and a proud AI partner of India Fashion Forum. So over the last 6 months, I have attended all these forums. I mean, be it Saudi Retail Forum or Middle East Retail Forum and IFF as well. But this is amazing. This kind of vibe, this kind of, let's say, I mean, people, I mean, it's completely different altogether. So, and I just say one thing. So I'll just give you one use case. And I have been into this Middle East, and I'm in UAE for last 1 decade. And I can give my experience from Middle East itself. So from UAE. So one of these use cases was, I mean, related to one of the malls, very big Mall of the Emirates. And what happened was, so Mall of the Emirates has, all of you know that there is a very important specialty zone in Mall of the Emirates called Ski Dubai. And what happened is, the mall management was showcasing that, okay, this is the footfall of this mall, but the Ski Dubai, I mean, management was not happy with the conversion. So it was completely different, all completely skewed. So I'm a person who loves to go on ground. I love to, I mean, I don't work from my AC rooms and then just chair and table and laptop. I went to Mall of the Emirates. I spent almost around 3 to 4 days in Mall of the Emirates to understand what is happening over here. Trust me, what happened exactly was, so there was a beacon which was at the corridor of Mall of the Emirates. And on the other side of Mall of the Emirates is Al Barsha, which is the residential area. And the other side is the metro station, which is Mall of the Emirates metro station. And the beacon from where the data was taken actually was the beacon of this particular corridor, where in a day, almost around 30,000 to 40,000 people transit. But they are not actually the people who are entering the mall or going towards the Ski Dubai. So definitely there was a skewness. So what we did was, we just told them to move the beacon from that particular area and then just 10 to 50 meters away from that particular area, and it was giving the right data. So this is what, I mean, what we bring to the table when we come with our analytics, and we are into geospatial analytics. And what I gave you an example is actually a part of that geospatial analytics itself. And there are a lot of such insights and useful stories. Maybe we'll see what else is there.
Rupam, thanks. I mean, this is an amazingly different story that you're talking about, right? We all have high-end tech that we want to talk about, but you're actually talking about how a tech can get abused or misused to actually give a totally different perspective. People tend to blame the tech. Actually, it's not a tech problem. It is a people problem, right? And you're talking of an issue that is a mandate for the tech to work correctly, right? And thanks for this is a great one. I'm actually going to skip the queue because I have Ulhas here, and I'm getting to him because he's got a use case that he wants to talk about, which is in a way resonating and similar to what you said. Ulhas, why don't you take it and then we'll go back.
Hey,
please
hi,
introduce yourself.
Thank you so much for that intro. So I'm Ulhas. I'm part of the Seiko India team. Just to give a brief introduction, Seiko is about a 144-year-old brand. primarily in the space of affordable luxury and luxury watches. Yeah, I mean, just quick brief introduction. And to give you an situation, I think we have a panel where mostly it's enormous amount of data that kind of flows their way, and they're figuring out how to use that data and what best can be done to improve further and improvise and then upgrade themselves. We are a brand pretty much, especially as in India market specifically, and globally it's kind of similar, but still specific to India. Retail is our biggest channel. When I say retail, it also includes all the types of retail, modern trade or general trade and etc., whatever it is. We are not an e-commerce first, neither an e-commerce heavy brand. By choice and by the way the product is also, right? Which means a lot of high-end customers would not want to, without the touch and feel of the product, invest on the product. But that necessarily is not the only reason. We as a brand also chose that as a way of our models or the business model that we choose, because we want our customers to feel a product before we purchase. Now, what this brings us into a system is, especially in the Indian market, is we don't retail directly anywhere, right, in India. We have franchisee partners, and then the biggest channel being the multi-brand outlets, which technically means we don't have data to analyze. We have hardly any data left. So we had a lot of discussion. So we are also from a space where...
Sorry, so when you say you didn't have data to analyze, I'm guessing you mean specifically consumer data.
I wouldn't call it consumer specifically. Even
or the last
consumption pattern
yeah,
data.
Yeah, correct.
So the demand...
The secondary sale data
yeah,
kind
so
of.
a lot of our data, which was probably by feedback loops, where people used to tell us that, okay, this is what is working. A lot of people would say, green dial is working. Now, how do you justify that? Let's say I had 10 pieces of green dial and I bought 100 pieces of black. Just by selling 10 does not mean that 10 is the demand, right? I mean, it's a problem of supply as well. But how do we get to that? So actual data was not there. It was all feedback loops. So what we tried to do was as simple as, create as simple, which is already existing in the market, was create an e-warranty system, right? It's an easy solve. Create an e-warranty system, everybody activates, you get the data. But we have the problem or the use case that we kind of have is, we are in a space where we do not want to directly take a data without in a form that offends our partners, because end of the day, this in the space of luxury, everyone's data is very critical. You're talking about HNI, high net worth individual clients who are investing in lakhs of rupees worth of watches, right? So when we look at data in that sense, a lot of customers do not want to even share their details to us to activate an e-warranty because they have their own restrictions. So we created a simple system, which kind of one system that fits for be it our e-commerce channel, be it our trade channel, be it our MBO channels, retail own business channels. A simple solve, same process, split the process into two, where the activation is just by one-click activation at the store. Store does not waste a single second to even enter any data. They just scan the QR code and one click, the process ends there. So it's faster than even writing down the e-warranty in a manual today. It completely eliminated our manual, completely processed the customers is the next leg. That kind of today gives us an entire flow of which product goes from which store. Is there a movement from store to store? Is there a consumption pattern specifically from any region? And now we have a lot of data that's currently was inexistent to us, right? Like just a few months ago, few quarters down the line is when we have this huge thing flowing. Yeah, so I think data is something that we have kind of solved for, which will probably pave our way for the next leg, which is the entire use case of analyzing and heading forward with that.
So I think, again, why I jumped to Ullas here is because when he told me about this use case, it was interesting that we all talk about tech, usage of tech, but there are some prerequisites to use a particular tech, right? And in his case, we've been talking to CPTO. They've been wanting to get into analytics, data analytics, but the mandate or the prerequisite for data analytics is you better have the data first. And I think that's where the struggle was. They've solved a very big problem today, right? So as part of the digitization that we talk about, I think these are two use cases where, it's something that I would call pre-digitization mandates, right? Thanks, Ullas. I'm actually again going to break the chain, and I want to get to Suyash. He's smiling because what you mentioned about the QR code is another use case, in a similar way that Suyash has got, but, granularized even further. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us about that?
Thanks, Niraj. Hi, everyone. I'm Suyash. I am a CTPO of a stealth mode startup. We are going to be an omni-channel jewelry brand. So I'll possibly share stories about my new startups in the next session.
Yeah, but you can reveal the name of the brand, right? Or
Yeah.
So let's do it for the. I know it, but I'll let the audience know it.
Okay, the name is Suchi Jewels. Fingers crossed. Hopefully, we should go live in next 5 months. And next time we meet here or some other forum, hopefully we'll be discussing better stories and success stories about it.
Absolutely.
But I've also had a pleasure of working across different categories in Flipkart, Pharmacy, fashion, etc. So I'd like to, I've gone through a full journey of from 0 to 1 to 1 to 100 across different categories. So one of the stories and the solution that we have provided, I would like to share, is on any fashion brand, and particularly the budding D2C fashion brand. One of the challenges is how do you engage the consumers? Predominantly, you are discovered through performance marketing, through social channels, Instagrams. Consumers like your product, places order, and that's where the transaction ends. There are multiple ways wherein we try to engage the consumers post-order by connecting on WhatsApp channel or getting your apps installed, getting the PNs, etc. But those are done and dusted with a little value add to the consumer. So we are pondering on what could be the construct that we can build, which can add a tangible value to the consumer and also enable engagement for the brand. So the idea was after selling a product, what do customer needs about the product? Since we are in the business of fashion, the closest that comes is styling the particular outfit that you have brought from the brand, or how do you take care of the particular product? And how do you do that? Then we evaluated multiple options like putting in RFID into every garment and having a unique track of that, and then build some workflows around that. But it was very difficult because RFID adoption in the end consumer is still not that high. Not all phones have RFID sensors by default enabled. So then we leaned back onto age-old QR code, and one may wonder, QR code is so much done and dusted. What kind of innovation can happen in QR code? So we took a step back and understood what innovation can be done on QR code on the garments. We said the existing QR code that typically majority of the brands put is very static in nature, very much representation of the product that they are put onto. We said, what if we build a smart QR code system, which does not only talk about the product that it is on, but it also has information about the life cycle of the product, whether the product is in your inventory, whether the product is sold, is it shipped, if it is delivered to the consumer, who is the owner of the product. So for example, if this is the pullover, it has, let's say, 1 million copies. What we did is we created QR code labels, unique 1 million QR code labels. It was nightmare for our supply chain. But eventually, consumer experience is something like, if I get this product and post-purchase, if I scan this QR code product, I would get a personalized styling tips, personalized post-product journeys in the form of, hey, Suyash, because in the back end, we have done juggling of attaching that QR code dynamically to the consumer as well as the product. It may sound very easy on the face of it, but there's a humongous amount of work that goes in the back end to make it happen. But the best part is it had opened up, the consumer experience was very, very seamless. It is no more landing onto a product page where you see the details. Rather, based on the consumer journey, now you are able to engage them rightly, whether the moment it is sent to the consumer, what kind of messaging that goes to the consumer. Second, another problem with the brands is when we are working with different channels, there's absolute blind spot about the consumer. The product gets sold through Amazon, Flipkart, or whatever channel partner we have. You have absolutely no clue about who the consumer is, what is the consumer feedback. But because of the dynamic smart QR code, we were able to build different experiences. And if, for example, consumer one gets orders the products through Amazon versus the consumer two who orders the product directly from our website would have a totally different experience when they are able to scan the QR code. So yeah, I think there could be more use cases built on top of that.
Yeah, no, amazing. And this was something you did at Myntra?
We did this at Virtuo.
Virtuo, okay, right. Successful? Because the challenge of what in some parlance, we call this unit barcoding, right?
Yes.
Literally, it's there. If you're buying 10,000 of this one style, you've got 10,000 barcodes individually,
Yes.
right? I mean, it could be -1, -2, but still it's a logistic nightmare for a lot of back-end people.
Yes.
And of course, the returns have to work out, right?
Yes.
But I guess from the use cases, and I'm starting to imagine how many more there can be.
Yeah.
I'll ask you a very honest question, okay?
Right.
In this, of course, we're trying to, portray this as the service to the customer, thereafter personalization on styling, etc.
Correct.
But of course, this is also a vested interest for the brand to, get. So what's the carrot and what's the stick, if you can tell me?
So consumer value proposition, I think if you're offering consumer value proposition, the brand interests are simple. If the consumer is engaged, the brand will stick, the repeat consumer will try. That is the interest of the brand. I think consumer interest is very, very simple, that they need some freshness. I mean, as a brand, if we want to engage with the consumer, we have to have some tangible value add to the consumer beyond purchase. Otherwise, we run a risk of being a transactional brand where we are reaching out to the consumer for your next purchase. Maybe we are wishing on their next anniversary with a good coupon code, etc. But I think we need to, as a brand, we need to understand at each stage of the our product's journey, what is it that consumer needs, and how can as a brand add a value.
Absolutely. I think the importance of personalization can never be over-exaggerated. I completely agree with you, yeah. Thanks to Yash. I think we'll go back into the chain. Nirdosh, if you want to take it up.
Yes, this is Nirdosh here. I lead the technology and product for Agilitas. It's a sportswear brand. I think we talked about in a wide variety of topics here to say, how do I get the best experience for my customer? And I believe as a retailers for all of us and technology builder for all of us, I think this journey of trying to do better every next day is not going to stop, right? And I think given it's the last session, I would try to keep this brief so that, so I think I will leave few things, maybe some of my learnings in past, what we've done and where do we see that first principle thinking comes into mind. First and foremost, I see whatever we're going to do, it's going to keep on changing every next few months, next few quarters. I might add a channel today. I might need to tune this tomorrow. I might want to add another channel. I might need to discontinue one of the channel. I might want to give an experience, post-purchase experience to my customer in a certain different ways, right? And I would want to continue to change every interactions which I do with my customer and with my partners around it. There are a few things which I will leave it out. The first and foremost I see, we as a brand, we need to invest into first party data, right? Which essentially means we need to take the ownership of quality of a data which we would want to collect for our consumers, for our products, for our any interaction what happens, right? The second and important part, as I said, that we will need to keep on changing this entire way we service our customers. I truly see headless is another important way we need to work on. What it truly means is that we are building the data layer as a headless, and it allows us to create presentation in the format my demand changes tomorrow. So we were just talking before and say, if my channel becomes a Snapchat tomorrow, how do I adopt to this quickly? Do I rebuild the entire ecosystem back? Not necessarily. If you're headless, it means you have data ready. You only customize the presentation for a Snapchat, right? That's what I really mean by headless. My third learning in this entire way is that API first. You invest into technology, building products, whatever it is. you focus on API first, it will give you enormous advantages tomorrow. Whether you want to build personalization, whether you want to do some additional processing on the beacon data, what you're receiving, or for example, customize QR code, for example, what do you want to do next, right? I think this is where I think the game lies out there, right? So API is another dimension which I see. While you're bringing in the puzzle pieces around it, trying to get the best value, I see the composable is another important factor we need to focus on. So yeah, I mean, to summarize these things, first party data, invest on this, go for headless approach. It will give you enormous advantages tomorrow to tune your solutions. API first, it will give you enormous amount of potential to integrate and leverage or build exponential value out of it. Right, and that's what is the recipe what I would want to leave today. Thank you.
Great. So thanks, Nirdosh. I think deep insights on product design, the thought process even before you think of architecture. I think get the concept right, etc. I think Priya also has something on a similar line. So it's great you talking next, Priya. Why don't you introduce yourself and go?
Thank you. Hi everyone. I'm Priya. I head post-order products at Meesho. Meesho is a horizontal B2C e-commerce platform. Yeah, so today I thought I will talk about some of the work that we are doing for what we believe will be the next generation consumer shopping experience. So if you look at shopping journeys today on e-commerce platforms like Amazon, Flipkart, Myntra, Meesho, today that platform destination in itself is not able to meet all the needs of the consumer. First need that a consumer usually has is, let's say, where the inspiration starts from. Today, what the reports say and research says is that even in tier 2, tier 3 cities, 60% of the users actually discover products in short form reel content, for example, right? So this is YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels, Facebook Reels, etc. They do this on platforms that's other than Amazon, Flipkart, or Meesho. And then they come to our platforms, they do image search, they do verbal search, etc., and they try to find out these products. And then they choose the visual duplicates, for example. Right? So one, inspiration is not a need that we're able to meet. Second is discovery of products as well. A lot of our consumers say, hey, Instagram, I saw these Jimmy Choo shoes that's trending. I don't see that in Myntra. I don't see that in Meesho. So somewhere the user also started feeling a lot more that social media platforms understands them much more than e-commerce platforms do today, which as far as user is concerned is a problem wherein the platform is not understanding their need, right? And what relevant product needs means for that particular user. So in discovery as well, there is today a challenge in terms of what e-commerce platforms are able to do. You move on from that to like actual evaluation of the products and where a user decides whether it is suitable for her. Even in that phase today, if you see, what a user would do is she would come to a platform, like a particular product. When she likes it, she takes a picture and then shares it on WhatsApp with her friends and asks if they like it. And then she goes on to purchase, right? So even that collaboration part of shopping, wherein they need validation from their friends and family, which today offline provides them, is not something that they are able to get on e-commerce platforms. And then finally moving on to actual purchase process, the actual transact process in itself, in which also users need assistance. So this is what we have realized, that we as such today are not this holistic platform that is serving all the needs of the user in a shopping journey. And hence, what we have started doing work on, which pretty much I think a lot of other e-commerce platforms are also doing, is in a few ways, right? One is influencer and content-led shopping actually being part of your shopping journey on your platforms. So right from when you land on an e-commerce app, right from homepage, everything is personalized, everything is what is relevant to you, and everything is very creator-led. And if that is a creator you believe is genuine and authentic and is someone you're going to trust, then that's the creator that's going to talk to you in the platform, right? So this is one aspect of how we are going to support discovery as well as inspiration. So some work is already happening in our platforms. We have launched live commerce. We have launched reels, short form reel content. So we've been at the forefront of that and in that part of the shopping journey. Then moving forward on the evaluation piece and helping users assess whether that's the right product for her. A lot more experiments are going on in terms of how do you facilitate collaborative shopping online? How do you enable users to do social shopping online so that it mimics offline shopping so well, right? They are able to actually bring their own friends and family onto the e-commerce app and actually have conversations with them on whether this is the right outfit for them, right? So some work on this that we are also doing more in experimentation phase. The last one is more immersive shopping experience. A lot of things I heard in this entire forum over the past 2 days is about how touch and feel is so important in an offline platform, which I agree with. But at the end of the day, technology is solving for access, right? And digital technology will do that, and e-commerce platforms are going to do that. And it's going to ensure like the hinterlands of the country is going to get access to that product, which store is never going to be able to get to, right? And hence, helping users also understand the touch and feel part. The closest parlance to it in technology is probably immersive shopping experience. So virtual try-ons, imagining yourself in a newer environment wherein you're actually wearing that outfit. You're buying that outfit for a wedding. You can actually see online yourself choosing that outfit and in a wedding room, right? So that like you can, and with your family, right? So you can kind of understand how you're going to be presented in that shopping purchase, right? So experiments such as this, more of new generation work, I would say, is what we are working on.
Thanks, Priya. This is amazing. I mean, I'm trying to imagine Meesho to be this platform which probably is bringing in influencers. So you can look at an Insta. Imagine the platform being an Insta plus Google reviews plus the e-com that it already is plus WhatsApp into it, and then of course the AR, VR, whatever you talk about. What's the roadmap? 1 year?
A lot of what I spoke about is also in behavior shaping the users, right? If you see Southeast Asia today, a lot of shopping has migrated to this. Pretty much the users are all like on their apps, Duo-Win, apps such as this, is like they are all shopping through feeds all the time and looking at video content and doing. So this needs us to like really like open up a market, change consumer shopping behavior, get them used to like e-commerce platforms meeting that needs. It's a bit longer term.
So it's like saying, yeah. It's like saying if Instagram is getting in the space of e-commerce, right?
Yeah.
Why should e-commerce not get into the space of Instagram?
Right.
To check now that you mentioned that, is there any data point that says why India has still not caught on to this, online
correct.
shopping model? yet?
So a lot of thinking initially even in Meesho used to be that, hey, consumer needs are different, consumer behaviors and seller behaviors are different in China versus like in India. But a lot more what we have started believing now is, in fact, it's not that we have different needs, but we are in a different maturity of ecosystem, right? In a lot of sense, Southeast Asia is much more ahead, and we are in the cusp of that journey. They also went through this process wherein they built a thriving content creator ecosystem in their country, which initially they were doing on their social media apps. Then platforms like Pinduoduo then brought it online, and then consumers stopped going to social media platforms and instead started using the shopping apps in itself for all their content needs. So it's more of a maturity journey, and we are very much at the start.
No, I always believe, the sun rises in the east for some reason, and that's really how the maturity is moving. Yeah. So we won't talk about which countries are lagging the most. But thanks for that, Priya. I think we are close to, and Sadiq, your turn. I know you waited a lot.
Hi, this is Sadiq, founder of Pathfinder. For the last 15 years, we have been serving over 200 shopping centers, about 40 airports globally for revenue assurance, worked with about 1,500 brands integrated with their systems seamlessly. But the one thing that came up starkly was...
Sadiq, sorry, you mentioned revenue assurance. I mean, whoever wants to know, can you explain what it means in common parlance?
Revenue assurance is capture of sales data, because a shopping center relies on the variable revenue, and they need a complete transparent capture of what sale is happening out of every till. So we innovated that whole platform of seamlessly capturing sales data out of, irrespective of the POS system or POS hardware or any infrastructure. So we have over 10,000 point of sale points from where, as we speak in India, we are capturing sales data. So this is the story 15 years long, but then the last 5 years we have been figuring out what is it that we can do to help a retailer scale his business. What is it that a brick and mortar, we have seen the e-commerce coming in, we have seen the fear in the eyes of the mall, of the shopping, of the real brick and mortar people, of losing their business. We have seen that in their eyes. And we said we have to do something about how do we create a digital forefront for the brick and mortar so that they can compete with the same landscape of the digital interface. So fast forward, the last 5 years had been incredible in creating how. So one thing we'd like to mention is when you're digital, it's very easy to understand who your customer is. It's very easy to understand his credentials, where he lives, etc. But for a customer who comes who has a footfall, getting to know him, his behavior is a challenge. So that's precisely what Retail GPT is solving. So we launched Retail GPT a year back. We did a pilot in a small town to see how the whole thing works. But we are doing a soft launch in the next couple of weeks in India from Bangalore itself. So what it does is it creates a personal AI for every shopper, first thing. And it creates a business AI for the physical store. And the store is now both able to serve the customer physically and digitally. The store becomes the fulfillment point. So it helps the store discover more consumers, know more of their customers from the footfall itself. So most of the category of retailers, the store does not know who the consumers are. And there is a resistance of sharing the credentials and stuff like that. So we have solved the problem with an IoT device that sits out of one more QR code story. So the QR code that comes, so scan the QR code, the receipt comes on the mobile, even without having any app, just with scanning the QR code, what you have transacted now comes on the device straight away. Along with an instant gratification of you coming for the second time, whatever the retailer wants to promote with goes into the device straight away without having a physical receipt itself. So that's the first innovation that we brought. Second thing is the growth of a retailer store, of a store lies in their ability to know their consumers so that they can engage with them and start hyper-personalizing their needs. One quick use case is, let's say a fashion store has got mid-season, they've got some lines that they want to odd sizes. This platform will communicate only to those people whose sizes fit to these lines that are available in the store. And if he's a frequent user of that particular brand, it is hyper-personalized and the offer is given to them, and that completes the transaction in a way which he would never discover that unless he comes to the store. So this is one use case. And the third thing is the sustainability aspect. Today, retail is becoming even more aware of how we could contribute to the sustainability aspect, the carbon footprint that is being resulting in every transaction. So consumer is also aware of sustainability. He knows he has to contribute, but it will take a little while for them to put the buck on the platform to contribute to that. So as a platform, in order to boost the retailer's growth potential, we as a platform are actually sponsoring a plantation of a tree for every 10,000 rupees that they spend. So basically the consumer is not coming to the platform, he goes to the online store, the real store, he goes to the shopping center, he goes to the restaurant. Wherever he goes, he can actually go and do the shopping. He physically gets identified, and for having transacted at the store, cumulatively for every 10,000 rupees that they spend, a tree is planted on their behalf, maintained for 3 years, he can see the coordinates, where the tree is, etc. So this is one gratification what this platform is giving back to the retail fraternity and to the consumer, so that they can feel gratified that that transaction has contributed to the environment. On top of all this, we are very soon launching a rewards program, wherein between 10 to 25% of what you purchase at a retail outlet will come back into your wallet in the form of cryptos to gratify even more for helping the brick and mortar store sell their merchandise. So this is in a nutshell what we are here to do through Retail GPT, disrupt the entire ecosystem. And we are democratizing the data. So basically for a very small, the tech is available within limited ecosystem. So now through Retail GPT, even the smallest form factor will have the unique level playing field advantage of having the AI and being able to discover his business into a different realm of progress that this platform will give to their business. Thank you so much.
Yeah, amazing. Thanks, Sadik. Priya, one good thing is, they are trying to do a few things that you talked about, but clearly they're staying out of the commerce part of it. So, the base is secure, I'd say.
So we are actually helping the brick and mortar store do physical business.
Right. So
because the stores are there to stay, the experiential buying is there to survive, and they need to, like how e-com is coming into the physical brick and mortar store, we're helping the brick and mortar store have an e-com side of things so that that experience can be given seamlessly. We call it phygital commerce.
Okay, perfect. Guys, I think we are running almost out of time. We've got a few people. Does anybody have a question for anybody in the on the panel? Any one of you? I think we might have space for one question. No? Okay, great. So what I'll do is, it's been very engaging. We've got a diverse set of views, some insights into where technology is going to go 3 months down the line. I don't think anybody should talk beyond 3 months down the line. I have a consumer behavior related question and want to see if any of you have an answer, and multiple people can answer. It's very natural for all of us as consumers. Our attention span is just tapering off, right? Today, I think a 20-second reel on Instagram is too long, because I read a meme somewhere, I think some of you might have read. It was a 20-second reel on Instagram, and the caption in the beginning said, "Please watch till the end." So that's actually a narration of where attention span is going. Any of you working or consciously recognizing this and bringing in some thought towards either the product or the experience, that will help counter this, because that's how human behavior is going to be. Anybody has anything, or even if you have thoughts on this?
No, I did switch off. I thought this is, but I think what you said is correct. Attention span is very small because we have too many choices, right? And a lot of time we see a pattern and say, this is a content, this is a channel, this is a brand, which is not fitting me, right? I just ignore that. After that, I don't even give a chance to consider, right? And hence, it's really important that what we offer to our consumers is very, very relevant to them, what they engage with it, right? And 20 seconds is too long. That first few milliseconds is where the decision happens. And if you have not been able to grab, obviously it's a swipe up, right? So, hyper-personalization, getting that few milliseconds where you can grab the attention about who you are and what I can do for you. I think that is where the emotion, I believe, is a key part of it.
That would be a bigger problem for us, right? Which is more people having a lower attention span means it's the exact opposite of what we try to do as an experience purchase, right? So everything that we are trying to do is slow down your experience on e-commerce, lengthen out the stories, lengthen out the approach on what conceptualize that particular watch. What was the history behind the idea? Whatever was the thought process that went through? Who are the people that were involved? So while you rightly mentioned that could be the future, what we are also seeing, I'm sure most of you would resonate, is over the last few years, post-COVID, retail has been picking up quite substantially that well as well, which means offline, right? So which means a lot of people are now off their phones as well. Equally growing e-commerce, yes. But if a lot of people are offline and going to the stores, and if you can allow them to put their phone down, you see a lot of behavioral patterns, right? Then they start, a lot of people when they walk into a store, they're just looking at a green, blue and white dial watches. But the moment the customer says that, you see the pattern on the dial, and then they realize, okay, probably I need a magnifying lens. I need to see what the intricate details are. And they just get so hooked onto it, they spend 30, 40 minutes just in the store without realizing they spent that time. Probably the evolution could also be to slow down in a sense of how do you allow the customers to experience your product. Probably that could be the next way of looking at things.
But very important point. You see, we've got to, in my opinion, what we've got to understand, it's a very important point. So offline retail, brick and mortar retail works on the experience of shopping. It's not that online retail doesn't give importance to this part. I think what we're talking about is every consumer has all the time in the world if you've managed to get that attention, like Nirdosh said, in the first 5 seconds or whatever it is. Once he says, this is what I want, then he's willing to give you 45 minutes. But I think that is the importance today that I've seen. That first 5 seconds, you've got to catch his attention. So like they say, put your best foot forward, right? Sadik, you had something to say?
Yeah. What you can do in the first 5 seconds is to connect the emotion. So the emotion of what the consumer wants, we can't sell a product in 5 seconds.
You can't. So, and I think a common theme that I think 2 or 3 of you have said on this panel is, you all spoke about personalization, right? The technology could be QR or whatever be it, but the impact of that is, you using the QR to identify the customer just to be more personalized in what you offer. That is exactly leading to what we're talking about.
So the emotion is personalized. So knowing who the user is, what emotion connects with him is what the content should be designed towards. So basically today, if you look at it, consumerism is not as much as it is in the West today. So in India needs a lot of consumerism to be told. For example, in the average in India, the average consumption of a shoe is 1.8 as compared to 8. Because for example, in India, normally people have a black shoe, or a brown shoe, etc. Whereas they don't know there is an Oxford, there's a moccasin, there are 7, 8 for different occasions you need to wear.
There are a few women in the room as well. Okay.
Yeah, of course. So that consumerism is lacking, and that is what I think the social commerce can do a lot, which can then lead to deciding the brand, the SKU, what you want to buy, and that's where the success lies.
Do I have another 2 minutes? It says there, but I'll just end up with 2 minutes. On the same context that we brought up this attention span bit, this is the end anyway. So I'd like to give my one bit of stuff. I think earlier in the day, somebody asked me in the speakers lounge, you have a lot of use cases and analytics for retailers, offline, online, etc. Would you know one use case that would be your top favorite, right? And it actually got me thinking. I never thought about it that way, but I think if somebody asked me this question today, I think the one that I'd pick up is something that has been a low-hanging fruit for almost all retailers that we do, and this probably more aligns with offline retail. It is the ability to pull out a non-performing SKU from a store, and as early as possible in the life cycle, right? I have seen retailers understand the importance of this, but the implementation of this use case is almost never done. I said that, it's a triple whammy by not doing this. One is, in an offline store, that space that SKU takes actually contributes to your sales per square foot, firstly, that your metric goes down there. Secondly, what you're doing is by keeping this non-performing SKU in that store, you are, and it's not going to sell, you are essentially reducing your full price sell-through, because at some point you'll discount, and the later you realize that this is not selling, probably the higher is the discount you'll need to give. We all understand this, right? And the third thing is, for all you know, that SKU is running out of stock in another store, which is such a common thing in retail. So that's the triple whammy. But I think by talking to you guys today, I'm actually going to add a fourth whammy to this. saying that if you put a non-performing SKU in the store, essentially you're not putting your best foot forward, right? Exactly what we are saying. He comes in and he sees that and it's not performing. Essentially, you've lost the customer. So I think that is probably the most important impact of not pulling it out in time. But thank you guys, we've run out of time. It's been wonderful talking to you. Thank you for whoever sat through it. Amazing. Thank you.